Does SuperCoach, NFL Supercoach, Week 16 wrap and a very, very brief Week 17 look ahead. We're just going to do a quick show. It's Christmas Eve. We've got this huge NFL Supercoach week coming up, and it's right in the middle of Christmas, so pretty chaos. Anyway, Week 16, as expected, we got 81 from Puka after his week from hell. Trevor Lawrence kept rolling out massive scores. Ashton Genty went off. What a world. The Supercoach gods can be brutal sometimes. I was okay-ish this week. A score that was 554, top 3%, moved up 10 spots, I think, 9 spots maybe, to 46th overall. Feeling okay about that one. The Week 16 average score across the comp was 424. So that tells you the folks who have not paid attention for a long time are still there. The top 5% average is 570, top 10% 551. So that top 10% is very still clumped together. But obviously pods are just making the big difference, right? We saw that this week. Olave goes huge, Chase Brown, Justin Herbert, Jalen Warren owned by 2.7%, Joe Burrow 3% as well. So, pretty interesting week for the pods. We'll hit on that very, very briefly. But as I said, just a really quick NFL setup show because we're just going to talk through most of the schedule stuff. Injuries, George Kittle, he sort of went down with a bit of an ankle. He looked okay-ish. I don't know if he's going to play yet next week. But outside of this, how did we go, everybody else? I hope you went all right. I think my trades this week, I had two things that sort of went a bit sideways on me. My trades this week, I brought in Dallas Goedert for Tyler Warren. That was fine. I would have been just as fine starting Brock Bowers, who scored 2 more points than Goedert. I sat Bowers. McBride did absolutely nothing. It was a bit brutal. I brought in the Houston defense for the Rams, which is good because that was 22 versus 12 points, but it didn't quite go as massive as I was sort of hoping. Houston sort of found themselves in a weird dogfight, so that was annoying. But the toughest one for me was having reverse trades and sort of stuff like this a bunch of times, figuring everything out. I had left Wan'Dale Robinson in my wide receiver 6, forgetting to move him off field for Ted McMillan, who then went whack. So that cost me 26 points. So I feel like the total score of 554 probably could have been much better with that Tet score on field. So bit of a rough one, but you get that on the big jobs, and here we are. So the biggest surprises, I mentioned this week's like Olave, Brock Purdy going for 63, Olave 63, Lawrence 62, same as Genty, 61 for Stafford and Chase Brown. I mentioned him too. Not bad. Juzzy Herb, 60. McCaffrey had 58. Pretty good game there. And 57 for Joey Burrows. But the biggest flops, Josh Allen was the big one for, plenty of owners who have him out there, right? So Josh Allen is on 49.2% of teams, and we all got 13 points from him. We also got 9s from Tyler Warren and Mecca Buka, Trey McBride, and Lamar Jackson before he went out at halftime. We got 14 from Amon Ross and Brown. Not great in a pretty crazy game. Javonte Williams also only had 9 points, and we got Trevion Henderson go out with a head injury. He only scored 2 points before he left. So just a little bit of carnage up and down some of these rosters this week, but hopefully you sort of ducked and dove through some of the spots. Gibbs was having an absolute mare until he got in for that touchdown late as well. Same with Jonathan Taylor as well. So they managed to sort of pull off okay-ish kind of weeks. I think in the end, Gibbs managed at 35. Warren 30. So in terms of cash cows, there's not really too much we can really talk about when it comes to cash cows in week 16 or week 17 now as well, right? But you still will get big cash jumps for Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, Chris Olave, Puka. DJ Moore is a pretty good one too. He's been really, really good the last couple of weeks without Rome Odunze there in Chicago. Parker Washington's another one to keep an eye on. The Jags just keep winning, and he's been very, very, very handy as well. The pods out there though, these are basically the pods. We're going to go through the schedule. Hit on some of these, folks out there that might not be on other teams that you could think could go massive this week and the next. So, trades, let's just do the thing where we do the big thing, playing the schedule, right? If you've got any trades left, I've got 1 remaining. I'll get to it in a second, but I'm pretty chill this week, right? So, the biggest thing is playing the schedule. This is, whether or not you're in a grand final or in the second week of, your prelims, basically, or you're gunning for that sort of overall ranking, which is where I'm at now. I'm just like, whatever. I'm just like, overall ranking, I lost my last league. It was brutal. I've done so well this season and lose by 2 points. Anyway, we've got 3 Christmas Day games. And what we've been doing the last few weeks is just going, right, who is playing the weakest defenses out there The teams that have basically given up, the teams that are already 1, 2, 3 Cancooning as hard as everybody else, right? Because we've now got a bunch of teams that have been eliminated from playoff contention and might just be phoning it in a little bit. Like the NFL doesn't really sort of go completely Q in the rack vibes because people are still out there playing for contracts, but still. You look at who's playing the Raiders, the Jets, the Giants, the Titans, Cincy, Tampa Bay, Washington, etc. So these ones this week, I mean, on the Christmas Day games, we've got Dallas, Washington. So that's a great one for you. Your George Pickens, who went off again this week. As I predicted last week, he was going to have a huge one at some point once he remembered that he's in a contract year. He had 45. Good for him. CD Lamb, bit of a quiet one. Still a bit banged up. And Javonte. So I think they will be kind of out there looking to feast on Christmas Day against Washington. And the flip side, like Washington, there's some pretty interesting pods there. Terry McLaurin. The problem is they don't have a half-decent quarterback. They've now lost Marcus Mariota, so I would have thought Washington would have been a good pod, but just the questions around the QB play, I'm sticking clear. Cincy, Arizona this week as well. This is the rest of the slate. That's another big one for both sides. I think if you've got any of the Arizona Cardinals, if you've got any of the Bengals, I think most of us have got Jamar Chase. He starts on field, obviously, against Arizona, who basically just get themselves into shootouts. Miami play Tampa Bay. A fascinating battle of Florida. Devon Achane, Waddle, who knows what Miami could actually pull off this week. Tampa Bay will be going absolutely as hard as they can as well to keep winning. We'll try to get back on the winners list at least because they keep failing dismally in these last moments like Baker did last week with that interception. They're trying to catch now. Well, they're basically sitting there going, how do we catch Carolina for the NFC South? How have we done this so bad? The problem is Evans, Egbuka, Bucky Irving. It's really hard to sort of pinpoint which one might go off, but Bucky Irving's still a pretty good POD, I reckon. I just don't know how he's going to go against Miami, but those two teams, look, Miami basically eliminated, Tampa Bay fighting. Should be an interesting one. Good SuperCoach points right there. Giants, Raiders, same sort of vibe. Both teams. Like we're talking Brock Bowers, Genty. I've got Wan'Dale Robinson. You think about Tyrone Tracy, Jackson Dart. Really good pods there, I reckon, for that game. Saints against Tennessee. Chris Olave's been going massive. Tyler Shuck is awesome. Tennessee, the other side. Pollard, maybe, but the Saints are pretty decent defensively, so I'm just going to stick with New Orleans. Pats versus the Jets. Stephon Diggs is a really interesting POD for me this week with Trevion Henderson. His status up in the air. Ramondre Stevenson's another good one. The defense special teams for the Pats, though, I love that this week. Rams, Atlanta. Weirdly enough, I kind of don't mind both sides. Drake London came back this week. Kyle Pitts was still awesome. Bijan has been really good the last few weeks. The Rams will be a little bit tougher, but we also saw Seattle get the Rams pretty nicely, especially late. JSN ended up putting up 39. I think both Atlanta and the Rams can have at each other. With no Devontae Adams, I still feel like, boy, he might be back this week. We don't know his status with his hammy, but Puka Nacua could still have another massive one. Kyron Williams or Blake Corum. It's one of those take your picks. Pretty good pods. Not too many folks out there starting them. We only have 4 running back spots, so tread carefully. I don't know, but I don't mind both those sides of that game. The ones to avoid this week, KC, Denver. I want no bar of that, even with KC bounced from playoff contention. RJ Harvey will still be fine. KC will try to still put up a fight. Minnesota, Detroit. Detroit really need to win this game on Christmas. I still probably like Gibbs and Amon-Ra. You know that Minnesota will just be out there trying to play spoiler as much as they can. It's just Minnesota's defense is so hot and cold that it's really perplexing. So Detroit, I don't know, you might roll the dice, and I might talk about this in a second with the captaincy, but yeah, I still think Gibbs and Amon-Ra, you still start them, but yeah, it's a bit much. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, that's a weird game. So the Browns at home, Myles Garrett will be going for the sack record. I just don't want any bar of that in SuperCoach. Chargers, Houston, same sort of vibe. The Chargers, it's a really tough team to sort of pick week in, week out. Ladd McConkey finally got going. He's not a bad pod, but against Houston this week, it's a bit of a tough matchup, so I'll probably still steer clear there. Buffalo, Philly as well, same sort of thing. Buffalo, hot, cold. Philly kind of don't really need to be out there winning this game too much, whereas Buffalo need to keep winning to push the Pats. I think Josh Allen will be fine. I don't know if I see him this week James Cook should be all right. I think the Eagles' run defense sometimes can be a bit janky, so maybe you're okay with Buffalo, but just ones that I'm not going to be, hanging my entire hat on. Niners, Bears, same sort of vibe. Like, it's just a bit of a strange one. I think CMC, that Bears defense, they could be pushing for a 1 seed, which is hilarious. Their running backs, pretty good pods, both of them, Swift and Monongai. Niners, if Kittle's out, I think Chicago probably have their way with them. Niners might not be able to keep up. CMC will still be fine still. So you're trading candidates. I'm looking at dudes on Dallas, Cincy, the Pats, Bucky Irving for Tampa Bay. If you don't have Devon Achane, I think that's a pretty good one against Tampa Bay this week as well. Chris Olave is probably the best one, I think, is like a wide receiver drop-in candidate. Even like Justin Jefferson, Minnesota could have a field day against this Detroit team that doesn't have a secondary left anymore. So I might have him starting on my wide receiver 6 spot ahead of Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe. I don't really like Ted McMillan this week either because Carolina have a pretty tough matchup against Seattle. Even if it is in Carolina, I'm just not entirely convinced about that one. So trade outs, I mean, if it's anyone that you just don't like the matchups with this week, right? Pretty simple. So my trades, I've got the one left. I'm probably going to keep my powder dry this week just in case of like any just devastating injuries. I don't mind my matchups. I've got plenty of bench cover now, so I'll probably will switch in the Pats. And we obviously won't do a team reveal video this week. So I'll probably go the VC on Gibbs, and I'll probably go the C on, I think I decided maybe Josh Allen still against Philly. Like, he's at home for that game. I think he could still go. Oh, no. Yeah, it's either Josh Allen or I've got Drake May as well. I think Drake May against the Jets was probably going to where the C was going to land, I think, at the end. But that's a 5 a.m. Monday game. Buffalo is 8:25. So conceivably, you could go Drake May into Josh Allen. But I don't mind Gibbs against Minnesota. He's had a couple of weird, quiet weeks. He could go whack this week, and we'll see how we go. But yeah, there we go. Big Christmas ahead. So I think my biggest thing this week is I'm going to put the Pats defense back on field up against the Jets. The C goes on Drake May, the VC on Gibbs. Tempted to start RJ Harvey, but Gibbs, Robinson, McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor, I'm not going to bench one of them for him, I think. So my big question is wide receiver 6. Is it going to be Wan'Dale? Is it going to be Justin Jefferson? Wan'Dale Robinson against the Raiders on the road. I don't mind the Giants there. Jefferson against Detroit, though. The problem is JJ McCarthy, 9. Is he going to be healthy as well? So that's the big problem with the big question mark around the sort of QB position there in Minnesota. I'll probably still go with Wan'Dale. See how we go. All right, so here's hoping that we can crack that sort of, proper top 30 from here on out. I'm 46th overall. Let's get in the top 30 this week. Let's make some good decisions. But the cool thing is it's Christmas. So I hope Santa brings you a big win and a massive score. And I hope you have a really good one. All right, this has been Jim Does SuperCoach. Merry Christmas. I hope you have a cracker and happy super coaching.